everybody, and welcome to Tiger Dragon Storm's podcast, the Spiritual Awakening Show. So the first question in this new show is a very good one. It's a very well thought out question. The question is this: how does one acquire spirituality in a materialistic society? Now, what strikes me first with this question is that word acquire. To acquire something, it suggests that you have obtained a thing and you now possess it. Whereas you could look at spirituality in a different way. You could look at it in the way of not acquiring anything, but rather discarding. Discarding what? Discarding your ingrained belief that society has ingrained within you. That you are solely a material, physical being. There's not much special or mystical or interesting or energetic or spiritual about you. So to discard those beliefs actually leaves you with what has always been present. You see, spirituality is not something you become. It's something you realize. It's a realizing of what has always been, but was just overlooked because you simply, for whatever reason, there's no one to blame, for whatever reason you chose not to seek the spiritual side of yourself. For example, if one realizes they can speak to past loved ones, heal with their hands, if one realizes they can speak to animals or communicate with animals on a deeper level, these sort of discoveries are just that. They are discoveries. One does not acquire that which we deem spiritual. Why do I say this? Because when you realize that you are not solely the body, that your limits don't end at the end of your fingertips, at the top of your head, at the soles of your feet, when you realize you are more expansive than that, to use a word energetically, when you realize everything else too shares that same limitless, boundless truth, then you realize all of these so-called powers or so-called siddhis always existed. You just did not realize them. So you never acquire spirituality. You simply realize, or you could say remember, what society tried to push out of you. Now, of course, speaking practically, you do have to learn. The mind has to learn things, and you need a teacher to learn certain things. So you could say you acquired knowledge. That's fine. Of course, this is true too. But on a deeper level, what I'm trying to help you see is that you was always that truth. You was always able to do the things that you can do. You just didn't have the pointing or the right teaching, or the thought just didn't appear to you for you to chase the spiritual practices. So yes, to answer the question again, which I hope I've already answered, you don't acquire spirituality. It's something you remember that you are. Now the second part is spirituality. How does one acquire spirituality in a materialistic society? Now that's where I can say this is a very well thought out question, because it can seem very hard. I myself, for example, have been born and raised in London, and for me to have a huge, powerful awakening in London, then anyone can. I'm not special. So again, it comes down to you not looking so much outside into society, and rather taking a moment for yourself. That's all it takes, a moment a day. Everyone has a moment, a single moment, a few seconds. Everyone has at least that. And those few seconds can be profound. In just 3 seconds, you can question yourself and say, who am I? And that will start you down another path of realization. And life will simply guide you down the path to meet the right people who will help point you into the direction to help you answer the question, who am I? Or do I choose my thoughts? Or am I an alien? Or whatever question the mind throws at you. So it only takes a few seconds to have a question that will change you forever, no matter how busy society seems to be. So yes, just take a few moments to ask one single question, and life will do what it always does and help guide you towards that new desire. If you get overwhelmed, it's because, again, you're looking outwardly, so-called outwardly, into the world, into all these people around town, into planes flying over your head, ants crawling on the floor, sounds from the cars, from the motorway. You're looking outwards so much that you forget that there's a peaceful place within you, and it's always there. So less looking out into the world, rather looking into the inner world, where you always are, and you always are peaceful. And from there, the spiritual path will open up for you, my friend. Thank you for listening or watching this episode. If you are listening to it on my podcast, please follow. If you're watching this podcast on YouTube, please subscribe, and you'll stay up to date with the latest answers to the many interesting questions that the spiritual world has to offer. See you in the next one.